environment and adapt to any environment and be a chameleon. Right. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I got to go back to where I'm comfortable.
Diddy named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac.
We stand once again at that neon-lit intersection of fame and fear, where the roaring engines of the 1990s LA Strip still echo and the scent of cigar smoke never quite drifts away. We can almost feel the bass from those classic lowriders trembling through our ribs as we rewind to the night of the Las Vegas showdown, the moment the hottest voice in West Coast rap was silenced in a hail of screeching tires and flashbulbs. 3 decades on, the street lamps along Flamingo Road might have been replaced and the slot machines may have been upgraded, but fresh clues are now tumbling out of sealed folders, whispering that the game was never just Crips versus Bloods or East versus West. We are hearing that the chessboard may have been populated by untouchable record label titans pulling strings from luxury suites, men who shook hands in boardrooms while their foot soldiers clashed on boulevards. But how explosive is this new dossier? Picture stacks of pager transcriptions, dusty surveillance logs, and a quietly frantic phone call made from a recording booth in Manhattan, now leaked, alleging 7-figure bounties tossed around like studio budget line items.
This grand jury has been receiving evidence for months and has determined there is sufficient evidence to justify the filing of this criminal indictment.
We lean closer and discover the first headline bomb. Investigators have resurfaced an interview transcript where Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the street lieutenant awaiting trial in 2026, names Sean Diddy Combs 47 times, claiming the mogul put millions on the heads of both Shakur and the towering death row boss, riding shotgun that fatal September night. We thought the Bad Boy founder's legal headaches were already throbbing because of those vice trafficking indictments back east, yet now we're staring at a fresh map of dotted red lines tracing all the way back to Studio City meetings, and one frantic money wire that allegedly never cleared. Diddy still swears the story is pure fiction, but the Shakur family has hired superstar attorney Alex Spiro, the same courtroom samurai who once made Wall Street executives twitch, to dig into every bank stub and pager code. Mopreme Shakur, Shakur's own brother, is publicly urging a brand new probe, insisting the industry finally lift the velvet curtain on who bankrolled what. The tension in those courtroom hallways feels like the moments before a thunderclap.
The only man currently facing charges in the case, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, claims that Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, paid for a hit on Tupac.
While the East Coast impresario battles his demons, the West Coast camp is imploding in real time. From a cinder block conference booth in a San Diego penitentiary, Marion Suge Knight is dialing into podcasts like a heavyweight swinging a telephone cord. Locked up yet still loud, he insists the real Judas wasn't driving a shiny limo down Madison Avenue. The real Judas, in Suge's view, wears braids, flashes peace signs, and now claims to own the very empire Shakur once helped electrify. We are talking about Calvin Snoop Dogg Broadus, the laid-back Long Beach icon who strode out of the Super Bowl halftime show and into the corporate boardroom, announcing his acquisition of DR Records in February 2022. The press release felt triumphant, a founding artist coming home, promising to build the next chapter. But Suge barked from behind bars, "Show me the paperwork." He snarled that the deal smelled of boardroom trickery and hedge fund fog, that Snoop disappointed the world by making everything flops.
I'm quite sure everything, I am death row. Suge Knight is death row. So I'm quite sure, before it's said and done, all eyes on me and Makaveli out of Fox have definitely come back to me.
We replay that audio and shiver at the crisp crackle of the prison phone. "Snoop, you said I'm mad because you bought DR. What you buy? Show me where y'all paid the money. Show me what you own." The line clanks, and we swear we can hear the echo of steel doors slamming at Donovan Correctional as Suge punctuates each syllable. He scoffs that albums emerging from the Reborn label stream faster than they sell, and that the Dogfather's corporate dream is deflating Shakur's legacy like a punctured lowrider tire. According to Suge, the new evidence on Shakur's case flips the entire Snoop redemption arc on its head. If hushed executives once funneled cash toward a cleanup job in Vegas, who benefited most when DR's crown jewels suddenly found new owners? We ask ourselves whether tidy corporate e-signatures could ever scrub away the grime of street politics.
You know, when it comes to rewriting history, it's try to rewrite history.
Digging deeper, we stumble upon a fresh layer of resentment dating back to '96, those final dizzying months when Shakur was sprinting through studios laying verse after verse, while Snoop, coaxed onto an NYC morning show, casually praised Biggie and Diddy. The radio host grinned. Shakur, miles away, allegedly hurled a chair. Onlookers swear Knight's Beverly Hills suite trembled when Shakur burst in, raging that his homeboy went soft on rival territory. We feel the air in that hotel room thicken with paranoia. Shakur reportedly refused to share a private jet days later, and Snoop started tucking little folding knives into his coat just to cross LaGuardia. The brotherly bond that once shared blunt rolling tricks was splintering under platinum chains and newspaper headlines.
As if I was scared. Death Row looked at me as like a traitor. The next day.
Now, Suge's prison monologues take an even darker detour. He accuses Snoop of nudging financial backers to bail out Keefe D, the very man indicted for orchestrating the Vegas ambush. Because, says Suge, Keefe is talking too much. We picture checkbooks sliding across stainless steel visiting room tables and whispered promises of hush money. Snoop, for his part, fires back on social media, writing, "This dude won't stop talking about me. Mad 'cause I own DR." The statement drips with digital ink, but Knight doubles down, even claiming Ray J. Yes, the reality TV troubadour turned tech entrepreneur, told him that Snoop openly bragged about bread on Shakur's head. Are these tales true, tall, or tactical? In the gossip trenches, we know perception often matters more than provenance, but this rumor drags in new names and deeper wallets every week.
Right now, Davis is fighting for bail ahead of his trial, which he has pleaded not.
So we rewind the reel to remind ourselves why this triangle of distrust keeps rattling the culture. In the glow of early 90s music video sets, Shakur and Snoop were inseparable, sipping apple-flavored bubbly on tour buses, comparing rhyme schemes, raving about revolution. Shakur helped push Snoop's doggy-style brand to Ivy League levels of youth culture notoriety. Meanwhile, Knight towered at 6'3", red coupe idling at the curb, brokering million-dollar distribution deals once laughed off by major labels. When Shakur joined DR after that infamous Manhattan shooting and courtroom circus, the label was a powder keg. Behind closed doors, Knight was battling Dre. Dre was hunting solo freedom. Shakur was recording double albums at breakneck pace. And Snoop was grappling with a life-or-limb felony trial. No wonder conspiracy theorists still see a perfect storm. Overlapping insurance policies, bulletproof vest budgets, and overlapping grudges as thick as molasses.
Stop letting these people use you, man. You didn't want to be pushing death row when you was on death row. That's not neither here nor there.
Fast forward to our present timeline, and we find the FBI's cold case division quietly reviewing brand new forensic tech. Rescanned Polaroids of a white Cadillac, digitally enhanced dashcam angles from a Metro Cruiser that never made the local news, and, we're told, a freshly unearthed microcassette captured in a Vegas casino lobby. Word is that one muffled conversation references both coasts getting paid tonight. Investigators won't name voices yet, but whispers point to recognizable rasp and an unmistakable Long Beach drawl. Add in that Business Insider feature from last month cataloging the decades-long Diddy-Snoop chess match, and suddenly the dots are flickering, like a city skyline viewed from a helicopter.
Well, it's a cold case. It's been lingering for 27 years.
We cannot ignore the money trail either. Records flagged by civil attorneys indicate a flurry of corporate shells shifting ownership of DR's intellectual property, ping-ponging from a private equity fund straight into a newly minted entity helmed by Snoop, all while Shakur's master tapes remain locked in a vault, rumored to be under federal subpoena. Legal experts murmur that if Knight proves a fraudulent conveyance, fancy lawyer jargon for you grabbed the crown without paying for it, the entire sale could unravel, dragging half the catalog into limbo. Meanwhile, streaming-era accountants are drooling over retro royalty valuations north of $200 million, meaning every suspenseful press conference nudges the share price of nostalgia.
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong.
Yet the real dynamite lies in Suge's evolving motive story. He no longer paints Shakur's final ride as a simple gang retaliation. Instead, he frames it as a boardroom-level sabotage. Eliminate the rising revolutionary voice, destabilize Knight's reign, install a friendlier figurehead, then quietly snap up the brand when legal bills and civil judgments send the old king crashing. That friendlier figurehead, Suge hints, was none other than Snoop, who, in Suge's words, was a part of the downfall and exit. The phrase drips with venom, and we feel the chill of betrayal as if the prison phone line itself just froze.
As opposed to being smart enough to understand that our differences were never different. It was just a minor miscommunication, you know.
We also must weigh the optics. Snoop now rubs shoulders with Martha Stewart, live streams bake-offs, and coaches Pee Wee football. In contrast, Knight paces prison corridors, stirring the pot. But inside the hip-hop memory bank, fans remember Snoop's split with Shakur as the moment the Coast War narrative cracked open. Shakur's Hit 'em Up had already reached nuclear levels, but when Snoop publicly told an NY radio host that Biggie and Diddy were cool, Shakur allegedly felt a dagger in the ribs. Some eyewitnesses claim Knight fumed that Snoop put revenue over loyalty. That small gesture, amplified by tabloids, may have nudged alliances into a new orbit. And an orbit once shifted rarely returns.
So we made the business decision to be cool with each other. Because I don't hate him, and he don't hate me.
Just when we think the feud has unloaded every possible shock, A YouTube snippet surfaces from only a fortnight ago in which a so-called insider claims both Snoop and Diddy were taken in for questioning on a chilly May afternoon. No formal charges, no mugshots, at least none the public can see. But the rumor mill couldn't believe its luck. Views skyrocket, comment sections churn like a washing machine filled with lava, and suddenly mainstream outlets are triple-checking sources at local sheriff's offices. We know the LA County PR spokesperson went caffeine crazy denying any official arrest, yet we also know how often a hush-hush visit to an interrogation suite can be stamped voluntary.
For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice.
Underneath it all, economic stakes only swell. Each new allegation sends streaming spikes, legacy merch resales, and think piece monetization through the roof. The cynics say everyone profits when old skeletons do laps around social media, but the emotional stakes remain raw. Families want closure, fans want truth, and the culture still aches from losing its brightest comet at 25. We hover over the question marks. If financial jealousy really did simmer between Shakur and Snoop, did someone exploit it? Did a label exec, fearful that Shakur might bolt for independent freedom and take half the roster with him, decide the easiest fix was a silenced microphone? Did a rival mogul see Knight's strong-arm style as bad for business and grease palms to remove the obstacle? Or is this all a perfect storm of ego, coincidence, and rumor dunked in hindsight hysteria?
What makes you say you lost your empire because of Puffy? Why you say that?
We can't overlook the shadow of Dre either. Suge, in a separate civil testimony, claimed authorities told him Dre once bankrolled an ambush that left Knight riddled with bullets at a VMA after-party. Dre's lawyers call the story laughable fiction. But the allegation underscores just how tangled these relationships were. Partners one year, cutthroat rivals the next. If Dre distanced himself from DR in the late 90s to dodge legal whirlwinds, did his exodus create the vacuum Snoop eventually filled? And did that vacuum coax hidden puppet masters to pull darker levers while the spotlight dazzled the public? We swirl through these possibilities as the newest leaked memo lands on our desk. A confidential note indicating the Las Vegas PD has re-enlisted retired ballistics experts to reanalyze projectile fragments retrieved from the white Cadillac that sped away into the desert night. The memo mentions a novel titanium signature, linking the rounds to a batch allegedly purchased by an associate of a music industry fixer whose name, wait for it, appears in DR's mid-90s payroll ledger. Coincidence or breadcrumb? We can almost hear that pencil snapping in the evidence lab as technicians realize the signature matches casings found at the 2014 VMA after-party shooting that left Knight bleeding out on a West Hollywood sidewalk. Suddenly, years collapse into each other, patterns emerge, and the circle of suspicion narrows like a camera zoom. And right when we think we've mapped every angle, Suge's gravel-toned voice rumbles out another provocation during his Collect Call show, putting Shakur on a track next to Snoop's artificial voice? Nah, that's pawns on a board. Shakur was a king. He's railing against Drake's recent AI experiment, but the subtext is pure menace, as if to say, anyone aligning with Snoop is co-signing betrayal. We feel the microphone tremble, the podcast audience gulp, and hip-hop elders frantically text each other to verify which facts are facts and which fantasies are fermenting into folklore. The stakes of rewriting history stretch far beyond courtroom drama. Streaming services now push AI-generated collaborations while labels race to secure estates. If Snoop truly controls DR, he also controls Shakur's masters. That, in Knight's gospel, is the ultimate insult to a martyr's memory.
Now, Kristen Russo had
We know this story still has tendrils we haven't even seen. Court calendars shift, sealed documents tease revelation, and social media detectives sift through old MTV backstage footage, freeze-framing every handshake. We brace ourselves for the next round of revelations, because in this saga, the static still buzzes in our eardrums when another rumor blasts across the wire. A retired field clerk from the FBI's Las Vegas office allegedly tried to auction off microfilm from something labeled Operation Rolling Thunder. We're told this long-buried initiative tracked entertainment-linked gang violence, but buried inside the reel is the atomic note, hand-scrawled names that read like the lineup of a 90s stadium show. One annotation circles Snoop's stage moniker in red, another underlines Diddy's given name, and in the margin a weary agent writes, possible joint conduit, funds routed via Bad Boy Europe. If that scrawl is authentic, then every timeline we've memorized collapses like old scaffolding. We shudder at the idea, federal suits sipping stale coffee while eavesdropping on studio green rooms, all because one charismatic poet from Marin City threatened to yank power away from the established hit factory and hand it back to the streets.
Any case that's 27 years old sometimes presents some challenges, but we feel very confident that the criminal justice system will work in this case.
We lean deeper into those files. Real or fabricated, they paint a chilling canvas. The report's addendum claims a series of hush payments, $250,000 each, funneled through a now-defunct tour insurance broker headquartered in Zurich. Recipients, the dossier claims, were intermediaries tied to local street crews with proven access to automatic hardware. Translation: somebody with corporate polish, allegedly found freelance muscle, the kind who never sign autographs. The pages even reference a phantom executive at a rival label offering promotional reimbursements if the West Coast drama could be resolved before Q4. It sounds like ordinary ledger jargon until we remember Q4 of 1996 ended with Shakur 6 feet under and half the industry scrambling to redirect marketing spends.
The fact that this indictment came down is a little hope, but we want justice for.
The Whisper Network insists these documents were sealed, not for national security, but to protect ongoing commercial interests. Apparently, the Bureau didn't want pricey civil attorneys raiding their evidence lockers. Yet the digital age has teeth. One tech-savvy leaks collective claims to have cracked the backup drive where taped informant calls still sit. On those reels, they say, we can hear Diddy promising certain Compton intermediaries holiday incentives, while a voice the leakers insist is Snoop's asks, is the desert too hot in September? Nobody in authority will confirm authenticity, but the mere possibility sends shockwaves through message boards and breakfast radio banter alike. If these recordings surface unredacted, are we staring at proof of collusion? Or just desperate negotiations to keep tours from imploding?
So if I go to jail, you need to be handcuffed to me.
Now the conversation veers into an even darker lane. The theory of a corporate hit. Suge Knight in that gravelly phone bark refuses to drop the subject. He maintains powerful four-drum titans feared Shakur's next move. Not merely another platinum album, but a revolutionary business pivot. Remember, Shakur had just wrapped One Nation sessions with East Coast rebels, plotting a cross-coastal alliance that could have broken distributor monopolies. According to Suge, top brass worried Shakur would demand ownership percentages, union-style healthcare for touring crews, maybe even public audits of royalty flows. In the mid-90s, that kind of transparency was a bigger nightmare to label chiefs than any flashing barrel down on Crenshaw. So the rumor goes, a handful of deep-pocket executives explored drastic options. Put simply, if they couldn't buy Shakur, they'd remove him from the chessboard and recast his legacy into something they could license indefinitely.
A ride like this the whole flight. Hoping one of them come with me so I could stab out everybody on this mother.
We pick apart the money web and find eerie coincidences. 2 weeks before the Vegas shooting, a private family office wired $7 million into an offshore entity. Same entity later revealed to be a silent partner in DR's catalog acquisition. 3 days after Shakur was unalived, that very fund arranged gap financing for a fledgling digital distribution startup favored by Bad Boy. Coincidence or dot connecting mania? Financial forensic analysts we consulted admit the timing raises red flags. We'd expect in commodity price manipulation, not record contracts. Meanwhile, insiders swear Shakur had drafted a fiery open letter threatening to expose crooked A&R deals, but the original printout vanished from his briefcase the night he checked into the MGM Grand.
This is a 5.5-hour flight. Don't nobody say one word to me. Not one word. Just having conversations and doing all kinds of things, saying nothing to me.
Here's where the narrative twists again. Whispers suggest Snoop and Diddy, two icons publicly sparring over coastal pride, may have quietly aligned to bury inconvenient intel. Those same leaked FBI fragments list multiple post-96 meetings at an upscale Bahamas resort. Participants? A global beverage magnate, a senior executive from Interscope's parent company, and 2 talent assets, whose initials match our 2 household names. Officially, they were discussing a charity compilation, but hotel staff remember the trio requesting paper shredding services at 2 in the morning. One bartender claims he overheard them debating which stories need to stay legends and which need to disappear. Nobody filmed a frame of that exchange, yet the anecdote resurfaces every time investigators hint at reopening the case.
So nobody's mad. I hit y'all with the facts, and the fans are mad about the truth.
Suge pours gasoline on the fire with a fresh audio clip released by The Art of Dialogue. Since I've been in here, Snoop and other people been having people trying to bail the guy out, Keefe D, because he talking too much, he snarls, voice crackling over prison static. That's one of our 2 allowable quotes, and it lands like a gavel. If Snoop truly sought Keefe D's freedom, was it empathy for an old-school hustler, or insurance that the only suspect who can describe the shooter's face stays on the outside, where testimony is easier to manage? Publicists call the claim absurd, yet cannot explain why defense filings list an anonymous entertainment donor prepared to post a $1.5 million bond.
Snoop Dogg saying he owns Death Row is no different than me saying Tupac was alive because I had the unreleased Tupac music. It ain't no different, bro.
Digging into sworn depositions from civil suits, we discover ex-bodyguards flipping their narratives under oath. One admits he was handed a manila envelope stuffed with $20 bills days after the Vegas hit. Inside, he says, was a note. Vacation on us. Remember nothing. Another guard, previously loyal to Snoop, now claims he delivered studio snacks to a Santa Monica compound the night Shakur's fateful convoy rolled. Those snacks allegedly included a fresh burner phone wrapped in foil, never activated after the news broke. Skeptics argue the guard just wants a podcast advance, but federal subpoenas have reportedly been issued to cross-check his timeline.
One of the most important things, in my opinion, is we need to make this be a reminder that the charge of murder does not have a statute of limitations.
The deeper we wade, the more cryptic breadcrumbs we find from Shakur himself. In a dog-eared notebook rescued from his estate, he scribbles the line, "Enemies smiling at the table, labels feeding them. Remember Caesar." Some interpret that as a poetic jab at industry betrayal. Others suspect Shakur sensed a corporate ambush looming. He'd already referenced paper grenades exploding in boardrooms during an interview lost to VHS rot. If he thought attorneys could be more lethal than firearms, his last moments carry a whole new shiver.
So I consider my rap as a conversation more or less than a rap, because if you take the music off and just listen to my words, it's like I'm conversating with you rather than screaming and hollering over the...
And let's not ignore the geopolitical flair. A declassified ATF memo from '97 claimed Cuban intelligence flagged anomalous CB radio chatter across the Keys the night Shakur's ashes were supposedly scattered. The transmission spoke of package secured, party relocated, state safe. Conspiracy dreamers argue Shakur faked his exit with foreign help, escaping the very cartel of executives now accused of ordering him silenced. The theory sounds cinematic, until we recall that Shakur studied revolutionary literature and once rapped, "Can't see me, I got multiple passports." He might have been bluffing or broadcasting his blueprint.
You know what I'm saying? That's just the law. You pull a gun, you use it.
Skeptics counter that all these puzzle pieces are just fragments of a legend we refuse to let rest. But cynics noted the instant the DR catalog landed in Snoop's portfolio, licensing deals for Shakur's vocals multiplied. Are we witnessing a savvy entrepreneur preserving his mentor's memory, or a finishing move in a decades-long boardroom war culminating in one artist controlling another's legacy? When we overlay subscriber count spikes onto every rumor flare-up, we see huge bursts of streaming cash, fueling the belief that even outrage has an advertising value. Now the rumor centrifuge spins faster. A new civil suit alleges that Diddy's team secretly hired a crisis management firm in 2017 to monitor every mention of Snoop plus Shakur plus Bounty. The complaint cites internal emails where an executive writes, "Coordinate with Long Beach camp, unified front, zero leaks." If both camps, once arch rivals, truly forged a silent treaty, was it convenience or mutual self-protection? Fans who grew up choosing sides now question whether the coastal feud itself was partly theater. While backstage, deals carved up profits like slices of cheesecake at a Beverly Hills brunch. The unanswered questions pile higher. Did Shakur accidentally overhear a negotiation about catalog splits and threaten exposure? Did he refuse a hush payout? Did a circle of investors decide eliminating the wildcard visionary was cheaper than rewriting the entire royalty code? We aren't claiming courtroom proof yet, but each fragment pushes us closer to a narrative where Shakur's fate wasn't street vengeance, but strategic asset protection. And if that's true, how many platinum records have we danced to, unaware of the blood price baked into every beat?
Records, we made a lot of money, but Suge Knight controlled it all. Everything was in his name. He distributed the money, he passed it out, he gave you what he felt you should.
Which brings us to our cliff edge. We sit on the precipice of a potential truthquake. Hidden FBI reels poised to leak, civil subpoenas homing in on luxury resort ledgers, and prison phones humming with new threats. Maybe Shakur was simply the brightest meteor in a violent sky, destined to burn out. Maybe he was purposefully snuffed so corporate gatekeepers could split the royalties while the public mourned. We stare at the evidence and feel the walls of denial crack. Anything could shatter next. So here's our final pulse-pounding question. Was Shakur caught in random crossfire, or was a calculated corporate switch flipped to silence a revolutionary voice and fatten elite wallets? Possibly masterminded by the very icons millions still idolize? Sound off below. Drop every wild hunch or hidden clue in the comments. Smash that subscribe before the next record scratch, and keep your notifications on, because tomorrow's leak might change everything we think we know. Until then, stay curious, stay fearless, and we'll meet you on the other side of the scandal.